there, my name is Meredith Ehrenberg. I'm an information architect with the Office of Information Technology, and I co-chair the IT accessibility work group here on campus. So let's talk about digital accessibility for a moment and why it's so important to make sure all the software we purchase for the university can be used by everyone, which is really what accessibility means. The image on this slide is of a bunch of school kids waiting on a snowy day outside their elementary school. The custodian is clearing their steps with a snow shovel. A student who uses a wheelchair asks the custodian to clear the ramp instead, and the custodian replies, "But all the other kids are waiting to use the stairs. When I get through shoveling them off, I'll come clear the ramp for you." The student in the wheelchair replies, "But if you clear the ramp, we can all get in." This is how we need to be thinking about our software purchases, ensuring that we've cleared the way for as many people as possible to have access. So you may be thinking, but my team that will use this software doesn't have any disabilities, so I don't need to worry about this. Well, let's talk about your definition of disability in that assumption. Remember that not every disability is permanent. Take a look at these examples of temporary or situational disadvantages that some people might encounter. For example, someone who today can operate a mouse just fine might tomorrow break their arm or wrist, making a keyboard the only way to access the software. Someone who today can see everything on a monitor may down the road have an eye infection or other eye injury. This is where screen reader software comes in, reading all the contents of a page aloud to the user. It's so critical that the software you're buying is compatible with screen readers. Of course, this holds true for other senses as well. Someone you may think has perfect hearing may get an ear infection, or may simply be in a noisy room, like an airport. Or maybe they need to keep quiet, like in a library. This is why captions for audio are so important. And don't forget that not all disabilities are visible. For example, a whole slew of cognitive disabilities may make some things problematic, like flashing content, filling out forms, and completing timed actions within a certain window. It's also hard for some people to determine focus, where the cursor or pointer is on the page, especially when the software is giving an error, like when a pop-up box opens or the software moves you back to a previous form field to tell you you have an error. So yes, it's the right thing to do, but if that doesn't convince you, it's also the law and UC policy. UCI uses a distributed delegation of authority for vetting accessibility and security for purchases. That means each software purchaser is responsible for ensuring that their purchases meet UC security and accessibility policies. If a purchased product or service turns out to have a significant accessibility flaw, some members of our faculty, staff, student body, or maybe even the public might find the product or service difficult or even impossible to use. Such a situation exposes the university to risk, increases costs, and undermines the university's commitment to diversity and inclusion. Our goal is to help you understand and assess the risk you may be assuming with a planned purchase. So we recommend you complete the questionnaire early on in the consideration phase for any new purchases. It's just 3 questions and helps you consider how the software will be used and whether the purchase is high risk. As you answer each question, you'll be guided whether to stop or continue by answering the next question. For low-risk purchases, like an additional license of software already widely used on campus, think Microsoft Office, Adobe Creative Cloud, etc., you'll answer the questions and not have to do anything else. But if the software will be used by people outside your unit, for example, students or the general public, and there's no other way to complete the task than by using the software, that's a much higher risk purchase, and you should ask for a deeper review by our team. If your questionnaire reveals that you need an accessibility review, submit it to the email address on the form. That will create an incident in ServiceNow, so both sides can track the progress of the review throughout. We'll then reach out to the vendor to determine how well they conform to the mandated guidelines. Based on their response and any identified weaknesses, we'll reach back out to you to discuss the risk and whether you want to proceed with the purchase. If you do, we may recommend that you create an accommodation plan, what you will do if someone says they can't use the software. Will you, for example, have someone else do the task for them, either temporarily or permanently? That might work in a small team, but wouldn't work for a whole class of students. And it might bring back some of the issues we've already talked about in the privacy setting. You wouldn't want someone to have to reveal personal information for you to input when they should be able to do that for themselves. A classic example of this is an ATM. Someone who can't see the screen shouldn't have to give you their card and reveal their PIN number for you to enter on their behalf. This is why identifying the risk upfront and making informed purchasing decisions is so important. We're here as a resource and look forward to working with you to ensure we're all doing the right thing when it comes to making accessible software purchases. Thank you.